what challenge will it be to try to contain him?
Well, you look at this football team, and one of the things that concerns you is how many weapons they have, how many different weapons they have on offense. You can tell he's been there 5 years and been building the program. I have said time and time again in going through this league, let me go all the way through it and get a better evaluation of where everybody is. I think from what I've seen, this is a different talent level team than what we've been playing. And I can see why so many people picked them to win the Big East. I mean, you look at them; they've got not just one tailback, but they've got two tailbacks. One's two sophomores, and one's rushing for 100 yards, and one's rushing for 70 yards a game. They've got a big offensive line. They're strong since Sari's been in it, and they've got two great receivers that have great height that are 6'5", 220, 6'5", 230. They're built more like tight ends that can go up and get the ball. They make it very hard to defend them because they have so many different weapons, and they're good at what we do. We've got an incredible challenge, not just with ball one, but with the entire offense, with what we're looking at from a defensive standpoint. I think this is our biggest challenge to date. And when you look at their productivity, I mean, they can beat people 45-13 and 45-10, and they have been. And that's why you look at them, and it's a dangerous football team. It's a very dangerous football team because they're very good on defense and they can score so many points on offense.
Is there a key to trying to approach a physical receiver like that and to try and contain him?
No, I mean, the problem with it, and like I said, he ties into the whole package. If it was just him and you could roll coverage over to him and do some things to turn and try and take him away, you've seen people bracket receivers, high-low receivers, that he deserves that type of attention. The only problem is as soon as you give them that kind of attention, there's so many other weapons on the field that they can hurt you. The thing that you got to do is you got to challenge your players. They're going to be in some one-on-one situations, and we're going to have to turn them. We're going to have to challenge them to turn and make some plays. But there's going to be some one-on-one challenges with the ball in the air, and our secondary is really going to have to step forward.
With what Lindsey's been able to do, does it make you nervous at all that teams are going to stop kicking it back there to him altogether?
When you look at it, there have been a lot of teams that have pooched and squibbed a lot of balls against us anyway. I mean, we do a statistic. We keep more of the net kickoff return than we do the kickoff return yardage. Because if they want to pooch it to our up back at 30 yards and he has a 5-yard return, I'll take starting on the 35, 40-yard line every time.
I mean, pretty good one.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but I look at that as a win for us. When they pooch it because they don't want to kick it deep, it's just like kicking it to the goal line and having a 35 or 40-yard return. So we keep the net. And if Lindsey being back there causes people to pooch it, then we really got to challenge our front line and our up backs to turn and catch a ball and get what they can get, and hopefully we can turn and make it a positive field position for our offense, because that's the ultimate goal when we go to kickoff return.
But considering the pension he's had, I know it's only 2, but 2 is more than a lot of teams have.
Yes.
I mean, is it still worth taking the good field position over letting him get a couple chances?
Oh, I'd love to have him get a couple chances. I hope they can be deep.
But does the nerves kick in there that, they would take him out of the game?
Well,
They
can. I mean, they can take him out of the game. But to me, it's a winning proposition when you can turn and say you're going to start at the 40-yard line or give him an opportunity to return it. It's a winning proposition because the ultimate goal being the team. We're starting in positive, with positive field position from a kickoff return. Like I said, if you average 40 yards of return, you're going to lead the Big East, you're going to lead the country in the return game. So that's why we do the net, because sometimes when you have a good return, I think it's a real testament to everybody on that team. When you have a good return team, you're going to start to get squibs and pooches and things like that where they're trying to throw off the rhythm and turn and take it out of the returner's hands.
And speaking of looking at the net field position with special teams, Justin's numbers have gone down since his quick start to the season. But when you look at that, is there something in there that maybe is not on paper that the field position he's providing with you guys is still as good, or has he struggled a little bit?
He has struggled. I mean, he's not punting the ball as well as he was earlier in the season. But with the cover teams, there's zero return. I mean, so even though he may only be punting the ball at 38 rather than 45, when you look at the net is still being around the 38-yard line. Whether you kick it 45 and they average 3 or 4 yards of return, whether you kick it 38 with no return. But he has not kicked the ball as well as he did early. And that's something that we've talked about a number of times out here. Just he's got to find his own stinger. I mean, he's lost his stinger a little bit of his confidence. Last week he had some 25-yard punts in the air into the wind, but everything with the wind went from 42 to 57, I believe. But into the wind, it was about 25 yards that they were going in the air, but he got some great roll out of it. But I think he's a very talented young man, and it's a long season, and this is the first time he's had the opportunity to go through the season, and the mental drain that it takes on you to do this, not once, not twice, but 12 times in a row, each and every week, coming out here and making sure that you can focus on your mechanics and all those things that are going to keep you consistent as you go through it. And that's part of being a sophomore compared to being a senior and a guy that's been in that situation for an entire season.
Stress the importance for this group to keep that one-game mentality approach as it goes through. But leading into last week, you saw Pittsburgh go down,
Right.
And then you get the big win against Louisville. So how much tougher does it become seeing the things sort of playing out in front of your eyes, things that you need to happening?
Well, I think where it gets tougher is because Pittsburgh loses the game and they're going to go back with more determination and resolve. They're going to be telling we're still in first place. We didn't lose anything here. We just got to turn. We got to tighten some things up. We got to go back to doing these basic things we were doing when we're winning, and we're going to see a better Pittsburgh team than there was a week ago. But I still think we just have to focus on what we can control. I keep telling the team this time of year the circus gets bigger and bigger around the game, and early in the season the circus surrounds the game itself. As you get into the middle or later part of the year, the circus surrounds the program all week. The student body's talking about it, the newspapers are talking about it, the blogs and the chat rooms are all talking about it. Kind of the if this then this scenarios, and what we've got to do is we can't fall into that trap, because taking our time, effort, and energy, every bit of time, effort, and energy we think about the what ifs, we're taking away from what we ought to be doing and mentally preparing and getting ready for a game. It's going to be a heck of a challenge. This is a team that beat us 41-14 last year. It's a very talented football team, not only on paper but on the field as well.